Welcome back, Source Nation. You're listening live to Mailbox Sundays with your hosts, Dr. Terry Jackson, Life Coach Tem'Ti, and Pastor Kenny Smith.
Hey, Source Nation, we are back, and we have an excellent show for you today. As I stated earlier, my special guest is Coach Barbara Ann Williams, who talks about herself on her website. And interestingly enough, she says she would stand in the grocery store line and people would tell her their life story without knowing who she was from the next person. And I quote, she says, "In fact, I would often hear, 'I don't even know you, and I'm telling you stuff I've never told anyone.' I hold the space where people are able to share intimate parts of themselves, mainly through intensive listening. This is how I support individuals, and the curious part of me is filled with questions that help them work through their stuff." So she's one of these people that when you see pictures of her, and of course we'll be sharing you her site information, she is that person that understands, that you feel just has this connection with humanity, with yourself, and can give you insight into the most mysterious parts of yourself. This is definitely not the grocery store line, but we still seek her expertise just as much as ever, and she's here with us on tonight's show to discuss the 5-step formula to attract and prepare for the perfect partner. Source Nation, I want us to give a great big welcome to Coach Barbara Ann Williams. Coach Williams, welcome
Hi.
to Renaissance Relationship Therapy, and how are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm doing very well, thanks.
So, welcome to the show. Great to have you here. And for all those who are not aware of you and the work that you've done, just give them a little background into the world of Coach Barbara Ann Williams.
Well, it's great to be here, and thank you so much for having me. I started in the mid-'90s as a personal development coach, and during that time, I was an undergrad, and I was running into so many different problems with different individuals that I wasn't understanding, and it wasn't clear to me. So I ended up going back to school and for a graduate degree, and when I went back to school, I went for counseling psychology, which helped me to really delve into and understand people, what made them tick, made them do the things that they do, understand their mentality and a lot of that. So anyway, it gave me a foundation for really understanding a lot better and clearer for working with individuals. So after that time, I went on and, of course, became a licensed professional counselor. And after that, my love, and I was still drawn to the area of personal growth and development. And so in my profession, I ended up working with so many couples and individuals. The couples, of course, had the relationship stuff going on, but when it came to individuals, their issues were in their relationships. So the problems that they were experiencing in their relationships really was a reflection of themselves. And so I was able to pull all that I had learned and gathered and worked with individuals to really bring my profession and what I want to do and bring it all to the forefront in helping people really to improve their lives. I'm a firm believer that if you improve your own individual personal life, you will also improve your relationships, because our relationships really reflect us. And so when you can really get clear on who you are, who you really want to be, and work at becoming just that, then your relationships will be a reflection of you. So, and that's where a lot of the issues and problems come from. And so I've just enjoyed the overall experience in working with and helping people work through those hurdles in the relationship.
Absolutely. It is all connected, and, that's something that, we're becoming more aware of every day, how everything is connected. And, people like to compartmentalize their lives, but the truth is, something happening in one area is going to have a knock-on effect on the other. And of course,
Exactly.
with everything that's happening in your life, you are the hub, you are the centerpiece. So if you are right, nothing else in your life can really be all right, So love your insight, great insight, a great way that you've put it. And it's interesting because, we're talking about the 5-step formula to attract and prepare for your perfect mate. And this really is just, this is really a 5-step class in figuring out who and what you are. You know, that's a lot of what needs to happen to attract somebody. So I just want to look at step 1 real quick. And as I was saying earlier, you know, it's about defining what you want. If you cannot define what you want, you're not going to get it. You know, it's more than just saying, well, I want a nice guy, I want a nice lady, I want somebody who's just going to be loving. You know, that's vague. You know, it has to be, again, very defined. What advice would you give to our listeners when it comes to defining what you want in a partner?
Well, when you look at that, when you're looking at attracting and preparing yourself for the perfect partner, and I like to quote unquote perfect partner, because if you're looking for a perfect partner, that means what? You need to be perfect. So what I want to say is, be who you want to attract. That deserves a pause right there.
It does.
It really does.
Yeah.
That deserves a pause. Be who you want to attract. And so often people are looking for just that, the quote-unquote perfect partner, when in actuality, they are not perfect. And so you're going to attract who you really are. Like attracts like. There's no way you're going to attract something or someone that is so far away from you, they won't be drawn to you. It's like trying to get a magnet to attract and pull cardboard. It's not happening. They are not made of the same type materials, because that one has to be like or similar to the other in order to be attracted. So first and foremost, be who you want to attract. And so often in relationships, what people do is they get in relationships and they want to change the other person. They want to fix the other person or make the other person to be just like they want them to be. But if you're not who you want to be, you're certainly not going to be able to change someone else. So I would just start right there. Be the perfect person if you want to attract the perfect person.
Now, again, great advice, something that everyone should take on board. But again, trying to be that perfect person, a lot of people still haven't been necessarily brought up or encouraged by their parents or by their society or by their church to really, you know, whoever they look up to as a mentor, they haven't been brought up to really understand some of the things that happen in this process, some of the steps. And I know we've spoken about, I'm sure you've spoken about at great length, about non-negotiables and deal breakers, you know, your core values. These are things that, you know, are the foundation of who you are, where you draw a line, you know, in order to protect your identity. And of course, you know, so how, you know, tell us a little bit about these non-negotiables and these deal breakers and why they are important to understand when you're looking for that
one would actually fall up under number 2. So when you start out, number 1 would be know and love who you are. It's one thing to know who you are, but I run into so many people who they're willing to admit, I know who I am, but knowing who you are and loving who you are, 2 different things. So number 1, you want to know and love who you are. You can't love someone else except you love you first. You've got to be the first partaker of what you want someone else to do and to be for you, to fill in that gap, to fill in that void. That self-knowledge and that self-love is so important, because you're not going to let someone else come into your life and do something to you that you wouldn't, first of all, do to you. You wouldn't tolerate that. So you've got to have those clear boundaries with who you are and what you want for your own life. Okay?
Absolutely.
So that first one is really going to be know and love who you are. And then once you've gotten to that part, then 2 would be to be clear on understanding what your requirements, needs, and wants are in a relationship. So often individuals go into relationships and they don't even know what they require of the other person. You know, they come together and all of a sudden they're like, you know, hey, it's just chemistry. Yeah, there needs to be chemistry. That's a good thing. But if you have chemistry and you really don't know this person, you don't know what your expectations of this other person is, you don't know what your needs are from this other person, and you have to be able to communicate that to them, because when they're giving you something that you don't want, you've got to be able to let them know, hey, this is not what I want. This is not what I'm looking for. So you've got to, first of all, you got to, going back to number one, know and love who you are. So in order to communicate that with someone else, knowing yourself, you're able to say, hey, I know what I want, and this is what I want. And so when you're clear on that, you're able to communicate that to someone else. For example, that would be a requirement. Requirements are non-negotiable. There are some things in a relationship, if you're looking at attracting a partner, there are some things about another person that you will just not tolerate. It's just an automatic no, you know. And so there's no toleration there. And so there's no negotiation there, no if, ands, or but. Do not pass go. Do not collect 200. It's a no. So you gotta know your requirements. What do you require in a relationship? And so when you get something you don't require, automatically you can just next, you know, rather than stopping and pause. And sometimes people can stay in a relationship longer than maybe they wanted to or should have, because they're just putting off the inevitable. Simply because they end up seeing, oh, man, I know I should have did this a long time ago. I should have got out of this, because you knew up front they did not meet the requirement. So be clear on that. And there's a difference between requirements, needs, and wants. Requirements, as I said, are non-negotiable. There's no discussion in those. But in a need is like saying, you need transportation. Well, if you don't have transportation at all and you need transportation, it's a matter of a Rolls Royce and a Volkswagen. You know, what's if you need transportation, it doesn't matter what it is. It's something that you need. So you got to be able to identify. A need is easily identified when it's unmet, because of the resulting issue that one has experienced. So a lot of times individuals have experienced things in their lives, and they've had things that went unmet. That's when they are able to realize, oh, I need this.
Right.
I need this in a relationship. And right here, I would love to recommend, and I know people know about this, and they probably read it and heard it, but I'd just like to go ahead and put a plug in again for Gary Chapman, the 5 love languages.
Well, absolutely, yes.
I recommend that so often when it comes to couples, because if you know what your partner's need is, you're able to meet that need. And so if your partner knows what your need or what your love language is, they're able to meet you there. But so often people don't realize, people try to give love from their language, from their own perspective. But you have to learn that person's love language and meet them there. So say for example, my husband, we've been married now for over 40 years. And so in that, what I've learned, his needs in the relationship is different from mine. His need in the relationship is he has that need where he likes to be stroked, or he likes to be able to you got to let him know that you care, and not just by saying it. You got to be able to express that. Whereas then with me, my need is quality time. And so quality time, that's something that I need. So say, for example, if I'm trying to spend a lot of time with him and that's not his need, then that's not going to attract him to me. That's not going to make him feel loved, cared for, and wanted. And but if he gave that to me, if he met my need by spending quality time with me, what's going to happen there? I'm going to fall more in love with him just because he's meeting that need. He's scratching that itch, so to speak. So that need, you have to first know what your need is in order to get it met. So often needs go unmet in relationships, and that's when you know you have a problem. And so we don't want to wait until the need is going unmet.
Right, absolutely. And this takes us into the whole realm of, being authentic, which kind of goes back into, being that perfect person. If you want that perfect person, you have to be a perfect person. Or if you want that great person for you, then you have to be that great person for someone else. And a lot of people, part of being great, of course, is being yourself. And when you are yourself, then you will want, you understand your needs better. You're more in touch with yourself. And, when we do talk about people changing and developing for the sake of getting a partner, of course, we're not telling them to switch up their identity or play a character. We're telling them to become the best of themselves, to give the best of themselves, to unearth the quality within them and bring that out. What are the biggest obstacles right now you think there are for people who are trying to unearth that quality and change into themselves? What do you think is the biggest issues facing people today?
Well, an obstacle could be denial. You might have an issue or problem that you're not facing. You're denying that it is a problem, but the relationships that continue to show up for you actually shows you what that problem is. So denial could be an obstacle, a hurdle of trying to get over. So you keep having the same issues and problems over and over in different relationships, but it's still the same issue. It's just showing up with different people. And so that in itself could be an obstacle. Another obstacle is you're not clear. You're not clear on what you do require. And I run into so many people who, I don't know what I want. That could be an obstacle because if you're not clear what it is you want and someone shows up or you attract someone into your life, then what you're going to get is confusion. And confusion is going to show up because you aren't clear. And so that in itself is going to be an obstacle. So it's so important. It is so important to be clear on what it is you want. And if you're being that, when it shows, it can't help but show up if you're being it. The late Zig Ziglar used to say so often, you got to be before you can do. You got to do before you can have. So often we want to jump straight to the having. But you can't have unless you do, and you can't do unless you be. So whoever you are, what shows up for you is a mirror and a reflection of that. Okay, so looking at step 3 in this 5-step formula, focus and imagining on and appreciating what you want. I know even with my own experience, in order to know about love, the type of love I wanted in my life, I had to experience that by creating a loving environment for myself as a single person, creating a loving environment, changing the decor, moving things around, making nice meals for myself, appreciating how I look, and doing things for myself that I knew were beneficial, that were going to bring about a greater peace, a greater consciousness, greater sense of awareness in my life. And if I, and having and recognizing that and how it made me felt, was able to act as a kind of guidance, like a GPS, that if I come across someone and I'm feeling the same type of energy with them, then it's like, okay, they're good. I can have them in my circle. But anybody that brought chaos and confusion, I was like, oh, I recognize that. I've been there. Exactly. Yeah, you can stay right there. So
And this is something that I just did subconsciously, but it's actually a thing, as you were saying. This is something that we all need to do if we're looking for that type of love. Correct?
Yeah. Yes, it is so important to create the atmosphere and the environment you want to show up in your life. So if you don't want any chaos or any confusion, then you aren't a person to stir that up. You aren't a person who, and because maybe you've experienced it in your life, you know what it looks like when it shows up. And if you don't want that anymore, then you've just put a halt to that. And so because that's no longer a part of you, then it's not going to show up for you. I say so often, relationships are to teach us lessons. And it's not so much the lessons that we necessarily want to learn, but when a relationship shows up for you, and this could be a relationship in any kind of way, people constantly have family relationship issues, or co-worker relationships, or intimate romantic relationships. If something keeps showing up for you, that's a lesson that's coming up, that's trying to get across to you. And if it keeps showing up, it's a lesson that you just haven't gotten yet. And so once you get the lesson, it won't continue to show up. It'll change your atmosphere and environment for you because you've got the lesson and you changed it yourself.
Right.
So when you get the lesson, you're going to change things around. So say, for example, you go into in your space, in your living space, if things are cluttered or crowded, or you need to dust or do some wiping down or polishing some furniture, when things are out of order. And so you don't expect for someone else to come in and do that fixing and cleaning. You do that. You create the environment and set the atmosphere just the way you want it in your life. So when someone comes in that clean, polished, nice-smelling environment, they're not going to mess it up because that's how they found it. And so you're not going to attract someone in.
And that's a very interesting thing that you said there, because, what you said, of course, is 100% on point. And the other thing that comes to mind is sometimes, we can be in our isolation, and, sure, I've created my environment. It's authentic. It's me. And I've got toy soldiers everywhere. Let's just say I like toy soldiers. I like put them all over the house. So it's looking real good. It's looking real authentic. Then I invite one of my friends around, and, we start talking about, man, I really need a woman in my life and whatever, and she's going to be mature and everything. So he comes into my house and he sees all these toy soldiers. He's like, well, look, you want a mature woman, but has anyone ever told you that these toy soldiers might be a deal breaker for her, that she may not like that? Are you really sure that this is relevant for you, in terms of wanting a relationship? Or is that something you need to kind of ease back off? And that was an interesting thing, I don't have toy soldiers, but obviously being in isolation, I can create, I've created environments where I thought I was doing okay, but sometimes again that human reaction, someone from the outside came in and was able to say, okay, look, you're doing good, but you've got a couple of things here, maybe you should, and it helped. Other people's fresh eyes on my life actually helped, and I was just wondering, a lot of people sometimes like to say, well, look, it's my life, it's my heart, you can't tell me what to think and whatever, and we sometimes push back a lot when people come into our lives, and even though we've worked real hard, they can sometimes see things that we can't, where we can actually do better, and I just, what do you tell people? How do you get people to embrace outside opinions without feeling like they're trying to change me or ruin me?
Well, you know what? That it goes back to number one. You got to know and love yourself. When you know who you are and you love who you are, you don't have issues with somebody else coming in, because people who know and love who they are accept others for who they are. And so when somebody comes in and they share a perspective with you, you don't get an attitude, or you don't get conflicted in what's going on here. You're able to hear them for what they're saying and respect that. And really, when you know and love who you are, you're always open for that opportunity to grow even more. And when somebody else new and different comes in and brings in a new and different perspective, you can't be so quick and easy to just take it and toss it and say, no, that's not me. You know, when someone comes into my life or into my space and something kind of rubs me the wrong way, I'm not quick to point fingers, judge, or criticize them. I am quick to say, okay, Barbara, what new lesson is there you can learn, or what's a different way you can look at this, where you're not rejecting the other person, but you're not at the same time denying who you are. So you accept who you are, but you also accept other people for who they are. And so when you don't have that conflict there and you're able to stay open, you're able to accept in new information and grow from it. Because let's face it, we would not be who we are as individuals today had it not been for a lot of the other people and circumstances and situations that's happening in our lives. So we need one another. We really do.
We do, and I know it's hard, you know, coming out of any kind of traumatic relationship. Your identity can be shot to pieces. You're trying so hard to piece yourself together, but you know, it's a job you can seldom do on your own. Even though there's a lot of time you need to spend by yourself, that you are still human, and as humans, we are social animals. We need that interaction with others. Yes. As a check and balance, and to get a real reflection of who we really are, because our friends, like you said, they're part of our environment. They reflect us, and if there's something wrong, they can see that. But you know, moving on to step 4, showing up and playing fully. And this is something, again, I had to go through. You talk about, well, I'm going to be this perfect person. I'm doing this. And it kind of takes us back to the quote you mentioned from Zig Ziglar about doing. You've got to do it. So there's no point saying, I'm going to be this fitness person and whatnot, and I want to meet this fitness woman, but you're doing all your training at home. You know, when you should possibly be at the gym training, because now you're in a social environment where there's other people, you're more likely to run across somebody else who's into the same interest. So what do you say, you know, about that? What kind of insight can you give us about applying yourself to your changes and getting out there and being in the environment that attract the type of people that you want?
Well, you know, with that, I can say be present. Be present with yourself, because if you're not getting out in the environment, first of all, you're not getting that partner, right? So if you're not getting out there, you're not getting to meet people. If you're not getting to meet people, you're not going to attract that partner, let alone the perfect partner. So while you're listening to yourself, you got to be present and listen internally. What's going on inside? So what are your needs? And so when you're able to hear what's going on within you and what those needs are, you're able to get outside of yourself and make yourself available, make yourself open, so that you're able to receive what comes and you can grow from there. So it's important to be present. Yes, be present and listen. Be out on the have your ears open and in tune. Use all those senses that you were given to be able to make that connection. And when you're in the right place and meeting the right person, you'll know that, because you've done all the other. You made all the other steps. You've done the work to get you there. Now it's actually time to get out there.
And one thing that, you know, is important, like you said, you know, being present, enjoy it. Yes, of course, it's great to do these different things because you're trying to meet because you're increasing the chances of meeting a person who's into the same kind of things. But also, don't just do it and feel, because I've gone places, I'm like, okay, if I go to this type of gallery, this type of girl will be here, and I'm spend all my time walking around the gallery looking for the woman, but I'm not paying any attention to the art in the gallery, which is the whole point. I'm not enjoying the present. So I totally miss how we can do that when we just focus too much on the person. Like I said, focus on your experience, focus on being you, enjoying you, and just do it because it's you. And when the right time happens, it will happen. And this is what I tell you can't push the river, but yet the river is flowing in the right direction. So you just have to trust your process, and it happens when it, at the right time.
And that's exactly what it is. It's a process.
It absolutely is, and and this takes us to step number 5, which is just again, be ready and open, and if we think that we've been ready forever, because people say that, I've been waiting forever, she hasn't turned up or he hasn't turned up, and one reality is that if you were really ready, they would be here. But because they're not here, it means you're not ready. And a lot of people will not comprehend that. It took me forever to understand. But, being ready could be a choice, and it could be a mindset. It could be your lifestyle that's not ready. It could be, where you're working. There are so many things that could make you not ready for what you want. But at the end of the day, again, you just have to trust that process. And this is when it comes into listening to that, tapping into that divine voice inside yourself. How do you get people to understand how to be, how important it is to spend time listening to yourself, growing that voice and pushing out the other voices that aren't so helpful? How do you get people to pay attention to themselves?
Oh, that is so important. A part of 5 that's connected with that is also accept who you are. So while in 1 we were talking about know and love who you are, 5, you're accepting who you are. And so while you're accepting who you are, you're also listening for whatever is going on inside. And what can help you to be ready is whatever the situation is. And so we don't know from one day to the next who we're going to run into, who we're going to meet. You just never know when that opportunity is going to present itself. And so if you present yourself, and ready is a part of being. And so if you are being, when someone else comes and presents themselves, you're in tune and connected with who you are, then you're able to be present, accept that, and be able to embrace it as well. And while you're embracing, you're accepting not only yourself, but the person who's there. And it opens up a great opportunity for growth. And we're constantly growing. And so because we're constantly growing, it gives us the opportunity to learn more about who we are in each and every situation. Because from day to day, years and time moves on, we aren't the same person. Hopefully, you're not the same person you are today
right.
you were this time last year. If you're in the same place, the same position, doing the same thing, you can actually say you haven't grown. And so look at some of these and figure out, okay, wow, I'm in the same place, doing the same thing, hanging around the same people, nothing new, different going on in my life. And so we can't point fingers outward. At some point in time, we have to be able to turn around and look in the mirror and say, okay, Barbara, it's time for a change. And the only way you can do that is by getting out there in your environment, or being open and meeting people and accepting them, accepting who you are, present and listening to what's going on. And when you're not clear on something, ask a question, share your input or your insight, and at the same time, be willing to get that same input and insight back from someone else.
Well, that someone else could very well be you, because, you've given excellent advice, and I'm sure, there's a lot of folks out there that do need someone in their life and this is why, we talk about coaching is so important. And a lot of people will think, well, I'm not crazy. No one said you were crazy. Coach, we're no psychologists, we're coaches. We'll help you to bring out your best strengths to work and manifest the things that you want. So there's a lot of information that you have to give us. So for anyone who's trying to find a mentor or a coach that can help develop their strengths when it comes to relationships and just generally their whole life, how can they get hold of you, Coach Williams? What's the best way that they can get in touch with you?
You can go to my site, and that site might answer a lot of questions for you or direct you to me. That's at BarbaraAnnWilliams.com, BarbaraAnnWilliams.com. And when you go there, you'll be able to see, not only get the information, you'll get to see who I am, my ideal clients, how I serve them, what I do, and on the contact page, you'll get the opportunity to ask a question or share, even get the information where you can call me as well. So you can call, email, or go to the site and get some information there.
It's been a real experience having you on the show tonight, and again, we've had a lot of coaches come on this show, and some are very technical, some are very wordy, some are very spiritual. You're just very real. You're just very real.
Thanks, man. I try to be.
To express things in an understanding and simplified way. There's a lot of high concepts flying around there, but you really break it down in a way that it's almost like a mother would explain something to her child. So that's a real gift. You cannot find it anywhere. I haven't had a coach yet who carries the same type of nurturing energy that you have. So it's been a real experience talking to you. I've learned tonight, and I'm so glad that we were able to share this with all of our listeners. So, Coach Williams, it's been a pleasure, and I'd definitely like to do this again with a different topic, because I know you know so much.
Yeah.
And
please don't hesitate to reach out and connect again. I really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate you, and we will talk soon. Thank you so much, Coach Williams.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
I appreciate that. So, great show. Coach Williams really put it out there, again, in very simple terms. No high concepts, no double talk. And again, she delivered it with a sensitivity, that can make any of us understand and really, be happy that we can open up to ourselves, and that this isn't necessarily a painful process, but a necessary one. Opening up to ourselves is how we can look at what's going on inside and see if we have any blockages that are obstructing love in our life. As Coach Williams was saying, loving yourself, knowing yourself. If we don't know ourselves, we can sometimes say things like, I'm not good enough for such an amazing partner. Yeah, it's a nice idea, but it will never happen. Or I can never love like how I loved him or her again. That won't happen again. Or love sucks. Nobody loves me. I'm ugly. No one's going to look at me. Or only rich people or supermodels can have great mates. And these types of words, this type of thinking, these are negative affirmations. And when we say these things, we actually create connections in our brain, thought patterns that grow and grow. And they are in our subconscious. So we don't necessarily know or are aware that we are thinking these things. But whenever we come across someone we like, the voice of negativity, of these negative affirmations that's been building up for so long, that blocks us from either making a move or from accepting that this person could talk to us. And so we act different because we don't believe we're worthy when they do talk to us. This is how we can obstruct and block love in our lives. So it's very important to open up to ourselves, be comfortable with ourselves, know that we are worthy, and more importantly, act like we are worthy of love. So Source Nation, it's been great having you. Apologies for the technical difficulties we had at the beginning of the show, but we worked it out, and we had a fantastic show. So much to talk about, but of course we are going to save more of that for next week. So before I leave, just let me thank one more time our sponsors, who are Scott Guest Foundation, Meet My Types Matchmaking, Urban Grandstand Digital, Cat Photography, Hits Masters, New Covenant of Praise Worship Center, and PS Photography. Also, Source Nation, don't forget to contact me at meetmytypes.com. That's MEET at meetmytypes.com for any comments, questions, or ideas about the show that you wanted to talk about. I want to hear from you. You have been listening to Renaissance Relationship Therapy. Everyone, I'm Coach Tem'Ti. I want you to have a great week, and I'll see you next Sunday. Love is all, and all is love.